everyone, welcome back to Procrastinated Books. In today's new episode, I thought let's spice things up a little bit, and we have not really attempted a read along for a very long time. So let's give that one a try as well. So we'll be doing a quick read along for a not so lengthy book that I have in mind. And I've been thinking about doing a read along, but I've not come across a book that I could really, dedicate enough time of the whole day and finish it up in the same day. So I finally have something in mind, and let me just walk you through it. So the book that I have in here for you guys is the Book of Forgotten Witches, which is dark and twisted folklore stories from around the world. And it's available currently at NetGalley, but it will be released publicly on September 3rd. So stay tuned for the overall reviews. I thought I'll give this an early access try and check what the book is about. So far, what I know is that apart from the overall collection of folklore stories and legendary historical related information that are presented in the book, I do have it over here. I do know that it's basically divided into 10 major sections, like you can see over here, and each section is actually talking about the different kind of witches that are available for information gathering, such as you have curse bringers, you have shapeshifters, survivors, avengers, mesmerizers, well-wishers, alchemists, revenants, nature witches, fate turners, and then you just have the basic information. And this is also an illustrated book, so I think we'll be able to go through the overall book pretty swiftly. Plus, it will also be interesting. This is the author's note that I'm going to read, but I'm just going to share a few glimpses with you, and then we are going to get started with the reading of it. Okay guys, so I've finished the first section right now, and so far what I've encountered is a list of illustrations and details around the witches that they have discovered in different parts of the world, and around the witch's name they'll also mention which area does this folklore or information belong to, and along with the area what kind of powers those witches have, and a brief story around that witch's tale or the last earliest found information about it. The one that really captured my eye was Alison Gross's story, and her story felt more human to me, and that's why probably it felt more real as well. And this one is around a woman who really likes a man, and she does her best to charm that person from the ways known to all human beings, firstly through flattery and sweet words, which does not take her any far, and secondly by gifting him all the different riches of the world and trying different things, but he still says harsh words to her and still rejects her. Now that she's heartbroken, she decides to extract a revenge, and she, in anger, turns him into this green, scaly creature which resembles a dragon, but obviously not has the same sort of powers, because then why would she, tie him to a tree and leave him be there? And then some other person comes into the story to break that curse upon him, and then there's a next level of story going on from there. But that is the actual story of Alison Gross. Now, post that, there's also an additional story related to the deck of cards and the first card in the major arcana, which is called the Fool, I think. And there's this whole story related to it, that why do they call him Fool and what sort of things happen in the background. I'll not reveal that story necessarily to you, but that is the last portion of the first section. And once you finish that, we now move on to the next section of shapeshifters. And before continuing, I think we should make some coffee to keep ourselves energized. This is a very dark and entertaining place, and I would love to catch up soon on that. Okay, guys, I think we are doing really well because I've reached the seventh part, which is the Alchemist so far, and I'm also making notes so that I don't forget which are the stories and the witch's name that I'm actually enjoying. The next one that I also liked was Anna, Queen of Kishali, which is basically a forest name, and this folklore initiated from central and eastern parts of Europe. There was also, I don't know how to pronounce this right, so please forgive me in advance. Melusine, which is a freshwater spirit, and the folklore initiates from Western Europe. It's about how people often are caught in the cycle of repeating the tragedies that have befallen their ancestors, and they keep on repeating that same cycle over and over again. And this was a really interesting story because there is a human and a creature under the sea involved, and they fall in love, and what happens then after, and how this whole curse keeps repeating one after the another generation. There were also a story particularly of Wilmore which was really good to read. Like, I am honestly enjoying the writing style, and that's probably why I have made it to page number, okay, don't tell me the page number, 220 right now. And while this is all going pretty good so far, I think we should go and prep up some lunch, a little light version because we'll not be doing a lot of momentum, and then get back to the reading. Now that हमारी पेट पूजा हो गई है, let's move on ahead and finish this in the final stretch. And with that, we have officially completed. It's 4:30 in the evening in here, and I have few more things to share with you. The first thing is regarding a very peculiar character that I was not really expecting to come across in such kind of a book. In a witchery book was Isaac Newton, and how his contributions could be viewed from different angles. He was said to be the one of the first voices of science, but also one of the last voices of magical power too. Besides him, we had also the distinguishing characters of Lilith and Eve and the prodigies of both their fates, how one decided to follow no rules and have a life of freedom and still was thrown out of the garden, and on the other hand, where Eve was a very, submissive sort of a person and still she suffered the same fate. Caught my eye was the way the story was concluded and the way in the overall book ended. I think it was Definitely a peculiar lead, even for me and for people out there who are interested in beautiful illustrations but are also looking forward to different kinds of texts and stories, and not just some pictorial representation of different types, should probably give this book a try. What I really enjoyed was there were fragments of different characters, but there were detailed stories as well within this book. So there were multiple stories in each chapter, which made this very versatile sort of a book for people to read. Now, there's this really fascinating theme that I have finally understood as I went through the book and read all the different 10 parts. It was also mentioned in the blog, but sadly, I did not really understand how it's going to work in there because it's a book about witches. The theme is actually that the whole plot of this book is situated on a baseline of the deck of cards, and within the deck of cards there are the major arcana cards, and few of those cards are actually significantly somehow correlated with each section of the book, such as the fool is your initial one, and then there are following cards that are correlated with different segments of the witchcraft story. What's interesting was to see it's a very unique sort of an approach that actually gives you into a self discovery and transformation sort of a mode, where you are actually reading these stories and you are also on an alchemical process of converting yourself, just like a base metal into gold is converted through the process of alchemy. You are converting yourself to a higher version of yourself. There are a lot of symbolisms, if I must say, that should be tweaking your brains throughout, that whether I'm reading is just in sense of words or does it also have some other implications too. So the symbolism angle was written really well in this book, and that was one of my favorites thing to probably highlight amongst this book. And that's probably it. I really hope that you enjoyed this reading along with me kind of a session for this short little story, which is partially illustrated, partially wonderfully written as well. Actually, not partially, it's mostly written wonderfully well. I did enjoy it for most of the time, except a few little exceptions that I cannot highlight because of spoiler reasons. But otherwise, let me know in the comments down below if you want me to pick up any other book and we can do this read along sort of a session together. Maybe do some buddy read. And if you have any further ideas, you know where to type them down, and I'll probably catch up with you in my next video. Until then, keep your coffee strong and your TBRs long. Goodbye.